In the early days when the food delivery apps were going crazy, DoorDash came up with a new creative way to process the tips that the customers would give to the drivers. They just kept all of the money. It turns out,
the secret ingredient is crime.
The New York Attorney General Letitia James sued DoorDash on behalf of its drivers in New York and finally settled for about $17 million to be split up by about 63,000 drivers. Let's break down what happened and how this was not a mistake. It was a planned robbery of their own drivers. The New York AG will post on Twitter, for years, DoorDash cheated its delivery workers by using customers' tips to meet its workers' guaranteed pay instead of giving them the tips they earned. Today, we're making DoorDash pay $16.75 million that will go back into the pockets of tens of thousands of workers. According to the New York Times, between 2017 and 2019, DoorDash used a guaranteed pay model that let workers view how much they would be paid before accepting a delivery. However, according to James, DoorDash actively deceived delivery workers by using customer tips to offset the guaranteed pay instead of giving its workers full tips in addition to the value of the delivery. For example, if DoorDash guaranteed a worker $10 for one particular delivery and a customer then tipped $3, DoorDash only paid the worker $10, with the company using the tip to meet its guaranteed pay. Do you understand how slimy that is? They guaranteed $10 before the customer added their tip. So when the customer then says, here's an extra $3 just for you, DoorDash said, bet, we're only gonna pay $7 now because the customer just added an extra $3, instead of just adding the $3 on top of the sale. DoorDash will be forced to pay $16.75 million in restitution to delivery workers and up to $1 million in settlement administrator costs to help distribute the payments. Why would it take $1 million to just send back the money that they stole? It's always easy to take, but difficult to send back. This was from 2017 to 2019, and they were forced to pay back $17 million to just New York City drivers. But that wasn't the only place they settled. According to the New York Times, DoorDash agreed to similar settlements of $2.5 million in Washington, D.C. in 2020 and $11.25 million in Illinois last year. So that's $30 million in 3 cities. This was a strategic robbery of its own consumer base and workforce. DoorDash would respond to the situation in a slimy way, saying in a statement Monday, quote, "We are pleased to have resolved this years-old matter and look forward to continuing to offer a flexible way for millions of people to reach their financial goals." But then, when asked if the company intended to make restitution to Dashers in any other state, a spokesperson replied, quote, "Today, we're just focused on resolving this investigation and putting the allegations on this conduct from years ago behind us." But how do you guys plan a mass robbery in multiple different states and nobody gets arrested? If you go right now and steal a loaf of bread, you will be public enemy number 1. But giant corporations can rob thousands of people at the same time in a sneaky way, calling it guaranteed pay. Calling it guaranteed pay as a way to rob your own drivers is a snake thing that a lawyer wrote and approved. Every executive approved of it. They wouldn't have implemented that company-wide if it didn't get approved by everybody that has a say. But none of them will go to prison for it. If you rob a bank, you will go to prison for 10 to 15 years. But if you just rob all your employees and your customers, you could just say, we're gonna pay back some of the money. And we don't actually know how much money they actually made during this time. Because if they're willing to give back $30 million in just these 3 states, how much do you think they actually profited during this time? And according to the New York Times, quote, "The Dashers will be paid a portion of the amount that was improperly withheld from them, but it is not yet clear how large a portion. We don't know if it's 50%, 80%, 90%. We don't know if it's 1%. What if it's not even 1% of the money they made? Because no one gets arrested, there's no real consequences. So not only are they raising the prices of everything, they're also stealing from the people who are trying to make a living. These aren't random people. Without them, there is no DoorDash. Not a single DoorDash executive ever driven for DoorDash. They don't do deliveries. They expect people to do it for them. And repaying them for building their billion-dollar company, they rob them. They knew this day would come and they had a fund for this. They stopped doing this in 2019 and didn't have to pay New York until today, 2025. Hopefully they're not done returning the stolen money, but also someone gets arrested. I'm not in the business of calling for people being arrested for silly things, but when you engage in this mass robbery at the same time of everybody for 2 years and no one gets arrested, why wouldn't another company just do that? They have enough lawyer fees to push it as far as possible and lessen the settlement. This is a thing companies do. They know you're gonna find out and complain eventually, but they have lawyer fees to make sure that it's in the future. It has nothing to do with this quarter or this year, so that the executives could get their bonuses. If Letitia James is actually serious about getting restitution, one or multiple of those executives needs to see the inside of a prison. If not, what's paying a little bit of money back? If I rob a bank, I can't just pay some of it back. Yeah, I stole 100,000, but let me pay you back 10,000 for your trouble. They would never accept that for any other crime. But in this case, it's all good because they paid a portion of it back, and we don't even know what the portion is. And DoorDash gets to continue to refine the way they rob people. That's all this is. That's all we're encouraging here. But let me know what you think about this. Do you use DoorDash? Are you a driver? Are you looking forward to seeing some money back? Let me know in the comments. Peace.